even funny. Go names. Got
Yeah,
Wesley
it's
versus
such a.
Bortnick, round four.
I think it's such an important thing that you highlight is that uh, he doesn't look out of place at all. But the reality is he had to fight in the play-ins, additional qualifiers just to be able to play this one, which is the last and final with grandmasters plus whoever's qualified to be there. But we're seeing him at the top of the table. Clearly, a grandmaster in the making.
Yeah, there's no psychological barrier here. Usually you're playing a bunch of names you've heard of, you grew up watching, but because online chess, having the opportunity to play strong players weekly, players aren't afraid anymore. And it's just another name to take down. It makes it hard for us. Here we have Bortnick going to his trusty Alyakin's defense. He's been playing that pretty much his whole career, and it's pretty easy to play the opening moves. It gives up a bit of space. It's one of the drawbacks, but in rapid and blitz, it's much more playable than maybe in classical, where the reputation of the opening, it's like white gets a bit more of an advantage than they would in some other lines. But in blitz and in rapid, one of the issues here, or one of the sources of counterplay as a Yakin player, where you look at this position in front of you, white has made some inroads with this advanced pawn on c5, but the base of white's position is this pawn on d4, which can be a source of counterplay. Look for black to centralize the knight on e6, put a bishop on f6, and then just long-term target this d4 pawn and
That's right.
make life a little bit difficult.
Yeah, sometimes there's, maybe a longer term idea. As I'm speaking, I just can't help but be distracted by Bortnick pulling out some dance moves there. Seems to be really be grooving with the position.
Yay.
I was gonna say maybe knight
That's not
e6,
new
knight
for me.
g7 to facilitate bishop f5 in the
My life,
future, but it's a
my
cramped game.
life.
You have b4, a4, b5 for Wesley, an easy expansion on the queen side. But like you mentioned, it's pretty much going to be b5 against the idea of targeting the d4 pawn and maybe looking for exchanges.
Impressed by the opening choice, though, because you're playing against Wesley, who likes to punish, will happily take space, and can play sometimes pretty much perfect chess. This opening is very provocative in that sense. The real question is like, how does Wesley make progress here? It looks nice. Our bishop on d3, it's pointed towards the king's side, but we don't have any breakthrough there. And even the knight on c3, you're like, well, I'd like it to do a little bit more, whether it's defending the center or shifting towards the queen side. If pieces get traded off, that usually favors the cramped side.
Yeah, talk about 2 moves ago. White just traded the knight on e2 for the knight on d7, basically. And I just don't understand that trade from a even a fundamental perspective. I don't think Wesley, he's not looking too happy with that. He played knight f4, but then I think he realized, well, after knight e6, I have nothing better to do than trade. This is just black's pieces all reaching their ideal squares, and you can see it's reflected in the engine evaluation as well.
Yeah, you're not happy as white because you've kind of lost the opening battle where you're admitting black has pressure on d4. And to defend the d4 pawn with this knight on e2, you don't want that, because why did you play rook e1? To contest the e file. You have to play knight e2. Your knight blocks your rook. You can't really make forward progress if you have to constantly look over the d4 pawn.
Yep, there's b4, a4, b5 will be the idea, but as we can see after a5, it just doesn't really get going in time. And there's also this idea when you have the bishop on f6 of knight takes c5 in the future. So black could even try to play b6, take on the c5 square, and then play knight takes c5. And there will be some pressure with that rook on a1, whether it's hanging directly or with the rook on a8 involved. Something to watch out for tactically in the next couple moves or just in the future.
Yeah, these moves from us, they're kind of admitting that Bortnick has played the opening well, achieved a decent position, and hard to find an advantage for white. There's a game that is opening up a little bit, a sharp position, Amon, between Yesipenko and Magsudlu. that I think we could
Oh
take a
yeah.
look at because it is sharp from the get go. White has gone pawn hunting. Neither side is castled. Two very, very sharp players going for it. Should be a fun one for the fans.
Absolutely. Esipenko also, kind of the late star of the last chance qualifier for the EWC last year as well. And I think Parham is just a really exciting player, especially in the opening. He's already sacrificed a pawn in order to reach this position. Of course, the D pawn has fallen, but there's Bishop C5 right as we tune in. Give that a question mark, but this is a no increment game with not a clear place for that white king to go. Eric, I like this decision. I think there's great practical chances.
Yeah, this is fun. Sacking the exchange. Black would love to castle and play against White's king. And that's why we see Yasipenko immediately react with knight b5, trying to stop this initiative before it really gets started, questioning that bishop. Maybe taking, a hit, playing knight d6 check, forcing, Black to lose castling abilities. Because, yeah, if Black gets castled, I like having this dark squared bishop bearing down on the position, lots of counterplay because it's not clear where White will castle. But knight b5 questions that immediately. Do you take on b2, pull the bishop back? Some questions here. Just a crazy position. I mean, maybe taking on b2 or pulling the bishop back.
Yeah, I wonder. So if you just go like bishop c5, for example, White's going to check on d6 anyway. So I
And
think
then
that's
even
probably
knight b7. Yeah.
exactly. So it's probably why he said, well, if I'm going to be in that position no matter what, let me take this pawn on b2. But I like knight b5, rook b1. There is a question of f4, but it's going to drop the e4 pawn. That gets into a whole other discussion. So maybe you take on g6 and perhaps try f4 at that point.
For sure. And that's super sharp because it does activate Black's rook on the h file. But at some point, your knight on h4 needs to make a decision because there's so much pressure on e4. Black's ready to rip that open. And we've talked about knight d6 check. It can be thrown in. Black's okay with that. Probably moving the king to either e7 or f8. And I don't think Black's worried about getting checkmated. And that's a factor where if you take on g6, the rook all of a sudden does have counterplay on the h file. If you don't play on g6, and the king has to go to f8, the rook on h8 takes a bit of time to jump back in the game. I think we're seeing the line we discussed though. f4.
Right.
White's putting the pawns on dark squares, which could backfire, but that was forced because bishop takes g3 was a threat on the previous move with this open h file.
I mean, if you're looking at the direct moves, bishop b8 can be played. Bishop c7 is also an option, and it kind of gets to the b6 square and has bishop a5 check. So it seems like a weird move, but I actually think it makes a lot of sense. Black is literally one move away from being completely safe with short castling. And once that happens, it's White's king that truly has nowhere safe to be, with bishop b6 coming to maybe even prevent or target the king on the king side. This is an extremely loose position for White. I find myself, barring some really, really forceful calculation here, Eric, I find myself doubting this engine evaluation of being so much better for White. The position is very, very loose.
Yeah, very loose and very easy to play for Black, and that's why you sack the exchange, but the play is comfortable. e4, the knight's ready to jump in. You've mentioned bishop a5 check, mentioned castling. White has the tougher decisions, and that can make a really big difference when the players are both pretty much under 5 minutes. It's just so important that this knight on d7 prevents any back rank penetration. And White has to make a big call here. Do you trade away, take off this dark squared bishop? Because then it brings the queen into the game. If you trade on c7, the queen on c7 will have access to some pretty attractive squares. Queen a3 played quickly. Prevents Black from castling, prevents queen c3 check. And in the future, if you take on e4, it prevents knight takes g3 with this pinning idea here because the queen watches over. So that's a very nice move by Yasipenko. I have to say there's some stability in a very sharp position. If knight takes e4 here, I think bishop b5 would be the next response. And the jury's still out to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering about knight take. I mean, knight takes e4 is such a difficult move not to play. If we're thinking about castling, knight c5 comes to mind. It does allow bishop b5 check, so I don't think I like it. I was looking at knight takes e4, bishop b5, and trying to get a move like f5 to work. All I want to do is bring my king away to f7. I could even consider king d8. I actually didn't think about that until just now, but bishop b5, king d8, also an idea. And if I get that king out of the way, just one move with the knight on d7, knight b6, knight c5, knight f6, I really like the position for black. So this, I feel like it's so important for Esipenko to keep playing the best moves here.
And what do we think is the best move? Bishop b5?
I
Hard
think
to
that,
argue for anything else.
yeah, exactly.
It's a very provocative move.
Yeah, d4 always works to keep the knight. I truly think that black would be happy even giving up a pawn here, even being down the exchange, but just managing the castle, because white is going to have a difficult open position to defend.
Yeah, the initiative feels like it's headed towards black's position here. Unless we
Yep.
find something really good right now. d4, or do you take the bishop? I mean, it's a nice knight you have on c3, but you'd like to bring both knights in, and that bishop on b5 is doing a good job of restricting black from, fully getting the hooks in, getting the knights both involved in some path.
Yeah,
The
I'm
counter
also
material, we're
wondering.
saying white's up in exchange, but
That's
black
right.
has 2 pawns for it. 2 pawns and a knight, which can be equivalent, can be better. So Parham's not all in. He does have an opportunity to just play a bit more calmly here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, knight. I'm also looking at the move g5. Just to throw a move like that in opens up a dangerous diagonal as well
When are
as
you
queen
playing
e5.
g5?
Like knight takes on b5, rook takes b5, and then g5, for example.
G5, then castle. Okay. Queen c2. Parham saying, you know what? I'm happy
Jeez.
with my king on e8. All the checks are covered. I'm looking to play probably queen g2. Hitting this rook, the rook wouldn't have any squares, and then the other rook, black's rook on h8, which hasn't joined the game yet, would coordinate on h2. Queen g2 is a nasty move I'm on, because you can't play rook b2 because of queen c1, and you can't
Yes.
play queen b2 because of queen e4 check. How do you deal with this move?
And is there a way to make, like, what I'm now thinking is, are we in the territory of queen d6 with sort of trying to get a draw with rook b8? Is there a perpetual there? I don't know. Because I agree. Starting to not even like the position that we have.
I'm worried if you go queen d6, there's a way I can check your king to pick up this rook. You'd have to
Hmm.
calculate that
That's right.
because, and I
Or
think
queen
you
b4
can,
maybe is like
yeah,
a
queen b4, because
better
queen
version.
d6, check, check, and no matter
Hmm.
what, we're getting the e2 square.
Yeah, good point. That wasn't the rook I was trying to lose. So maybe queen
Yeah,
b4 is kind of the same
such a,
idea, but
whoa,
oh
whoa,
my
did I miss
goodness.
something?
Well, he just
Oh, he
blundered
played
the
king f1. He
exact thing.
blundered the same type of idea. King f1 and queen c4 check. I mean, that's such a hard, what a game by Parham.
Yep.
Fearless.
Yep. I think we both felt that
King,
better engine evaluation for white was just not something we fully believed in, and neither did Parham. That's obviously off of a huge blunder, but he gave Isipenko a tough position to play, and he ended up making a mistake for it. We can jump back to the bird's eye view. I see Abdussatorov on 4 out of 4. Wesley and Bortnick drew their game, so that 4 out of 4 is looking really good to lead the event. And we see some other game's still in progress here, Eric. Rachmanov is still on that perfect score. He can win and join the lead.
Yeah, Rachmanov against Nepomniachtchi. And if we dive into that one, it's a fun one because white is down 2 pawns, but
Yep.
has tremendous pressure on the position because the d file is ready to break free. The bishop centralized is aimed at 2 pawns. Black's king position feels like, if you get the queens off, you might have some stability. But while the queens are on, tactically,
Well,
there's
maybe
discovered checks.
getting the queens off. It's funny because bishop b3, which was the blue arrow, if black plays queen f6, you could trade the queens and just double the rooks with rook d3. And it's a little bit funny that the knight on d6 has nowhere to go.
Yeah, just moving bishop b3. The knight
Exactly.
can't go to b7, so that pin is lethal. So
Wow.
that makes it hard. You're up 2 pawns and you can't trade queens. That changes the game plan for Jan. And
Exactly.
a question mark's given here. Are there some tactical chances here? Where
think
does the
it's
knight go?
Weird that the bishop moving back wanted to be on the a2 b3 square so that you
That's
still had pressure
right.
on f7, and then
That's right.
this move would not be possible.
That's a miss by Rachmanov. That was for sure the move. Because you'd be able to trade the rooks and take on f7. This changes things. Although white's initiative is still pretty strong here. Picks up
Yep.
1 pawn most likely on b7. Jan grabs f2 though, so still maintaining 2 pawns up. The knight is out of the game right now, which gives white counterplay, but needs more than that because he's under 30 seconds. Jan,
That's right.
no matter how scary the position is, likes to stay up on the clock. I see the queen going to c5, queen d6, looking
There you
to
go.
trade the queens. Serious pressure. White needs to find a move quickly.
I mean, queen d6 is easy. Knight d6, definitely the better looking move, but at this point you can flag, right? This
Oh,
is a
that's
game you
nice.
just played a flag. Bring the knight to f6, completely safe.
f6 is really nice. Jan defends. We don't see him always defending. He likes to attack, but this game it was a bit iffy. But having extra time on the clock is so useful, and I think that was a big factor. Rachmanov had a good position, didn't have time to find the right move.
Yeah, he's got 5 seconds and no threats. So this is not the spot you want to be in. Jan Nepomniachtchi will definitely win, which is big for his score in the event. I believe he was sitting at 2.5, so I think that'll push him up to that 3.5 score, and that'll put him nestled nicely into second place, just behind Abdusatorov's score.
It's such a hard event. Even if you do well, only first place qualifies. Your top 3, you have to play a match, and that requires a big score. Jan wins, a pretty professional game. Had some risk involved, but I think it's just such a skill to always be up on the clock.
Yep.
Such a skill. So valuable. Which is why he's one of the favorites here.
Well, speaking of the clock, Eric, there's one game, Theodoro against Vogel, that is still going, and it's going in an opposite bishop position with no increment, remember. It feels like we could see a winner in this one, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
These guys are too professional, Eric. Look, all the trades. This one will be a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw some flags, at this
let's
level.
dive in though.
Do we have another one?
Might be losing to Win Nok Trong San.
Oh, because you can swing the rook around.
It's mate. And
Oh
that
my
might
goodness.
take him out of the tournament. 2 early losses for Caruana. He found himself in a mating net. Oh, wow.
And you know what's weird is after rook g1, black has rook f6 check and king h6 to walk up the board. But both players, I think that it kind of eluded them. I thought this was just game over, but I think what needs to happen is maybe rook check and then bring the rook. So rook g5 and then bring the rook down.
That's right. You have to force. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice technique.
This is a win.
Bishop f5. And the king can escape to h6, as you mentioned. Last game of the round is Badi Pranav. We've seen him in this situation. Oh, the rook hang. There we go. Look at that
nice technique.
He needed that because he was on 1 out of 3. Just sliver of hope in his tournament, 2 out of 4. but a very important win. And that concludes round 4. I think this is the first time the players get a break. That's 4 rapid games without a break. Super intense format.
It is,
Looking
yeah. 4
standings.
points, right? Norderbeck on top going into the break. That must feel good. It's a fair play break after round number 4. But you can see the top 20 here. You've been highlighting the Iranian talent. I mean, Parham, Sina, Reza. You can see they're all floating to the top of the table, having some really, really nice events. And 3.5, lots of people chasing that lead, Eric. But yeah, I mean, any final thoughts about the games that we just saw before we take a break?
That Parham Yesipenko game was just like classic in this format. Wild, sacrificing exchanges, king in the open for both players. Like, that was a pleasure to commentate. That's the type of chess you need in this event. It's not going to be smooth no matter how strong you are, because of the level of competition here, that you have to take risks. You have to try to strike early on. Fabiano probably has taken risks, but he's found himself 2 out of 4. The opponents are playing well, it looks like. And that might be an early favorite already gone.
There you go. Well, we are going to take a short break here, but first, I want to talk to everyone about Neuro Gum and Mints. It's time to lock in with Neuro Gum and Mints. They're back for the Chess.com Open, and they have their biggest deal ever. This is a buy one, get one free on a 54-piece peppermint focus and energy pack. If you're grinding the open, or whether you just need the natural caffeine and L-theanine to stay sharp, just remember, good energy is your best opening. This is limited to the first 500 people, so move fast and claim it. go.chess.com/BOGO, or use the code BOGO in chat, !BOGO, all the BOGOs, and we will be right back right after this.
Welcome everyone. We are at the Chess.com Staff Rapid Blitz Tournament. We've got some amazing Neuro products here, and we are going up to a bunch of different staff members here and players in the tournament, offering them the opportunity to try this before their rounds and get their thoughts on how it goes and how it impacts their play.
I was a bit sleepy, so I thought it might help a bit.
I'll need some energy for a chess tournament, yeah.
Have you tried Neurogum? No, not yet. And I actually slept barely today, so I might take one.
Energy and focus, I think I need for the for the tournament. So.
I'm against the 2300 in round 1. Where's my Neurogum?
Foco y energía. Ahora necesito mucho foco y mucha energía.
Creo que es el adecuado para este momento, sí.
The calm and clarity, I think, is the best thing for me now. How's the taste?
Better than I expected.
I like it. It tastes good.
Awesome.
Okay, let's go.
Sí, la verdad es que calcula muy bien y he ganado bien, así que de momento, perfecto, muy contento.
It went pretty nice. I won pretty confidently.
I'm like feeling super energized, feeling good. It's like lasting. Game 1, got the win, and feeling good.
I'm feeling okay, normal. I just I didn't take any coffee or tea because I had your mint, so I was like, so far I didn't crash, so far so good.
The last game, I was playing with seconds on the clock, so that's the reason I was like a bit, nervous. But I think like the calm and clarity I choose was really good because I feel like very calm.
I felt pretty nicely, so the first, I would say, 20 minutes after chewing it, there was a light boost, I would say. So it was very pleasant, and what I liked about it most was that the gum itself didn't lose its flavor so quickly, and it was very interesting.
I surpassed my expectations. I won the tournament and I won all 6 games. After taking Neuro, I felt the whole tournament like good. Like, okay, was feeling very good.
Do you think you will try it again?
Of course I will.
The totem holds the moments that defined champions. Plays that became history.
Does absolutely
Across years, across games, across the world. The roar of the crowd. The winning play. The heartbreak. Moments that turned players into champions. Moments that never fade.
Is it going to be good? Yes, it is! And Weibo will...
As echoes of the past grow distant, the next chapter begins. A new challenge unfolds. Who will define history? Who will rise above?
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2026 Chess.com Open, and we are into round 5. Games have just got underway. We have one leader, that is Nurdirbek Abdusattorov, 4 out of 4, a perfect score. Now we're going to see whether anyone can catch him, Eric.
Yeah, I think that's probably the game to start off with. Jan Nepomniachtchi versus Abdusattorov.
And we see it, board number 1. Jan has the white pieces, and it looks like we have e4, e5, kind of a more classic opening here. But as I say the word classic, we also see queen b1, which I think if we're kind of paying more attention to top level chess these days, perhaps this move is not terribly unique. But at the end of the day, queen b1 is a rather unusual way to develop that queen, Eric.
For sure. I mean, the A file opening up maybe makes it a bit more logical. It looks funny, but sometimes you might place your queen on A2, extending your diagonal pressure. The tournament format, I think, is still pretty important for the players. There are some prizes, even if you don't make it in the top 3, which is kind of the zone for a chance of qualification or direct qualification. Mm-hmm. And that means probably 7.5 out of 9. And once you start off 4-4 like Nurdirbek, this is a solid opening because he's in a good spot right now. Clear first, good tie breaks as a result. So not every game is like, oh, I have to win. With Black against Jan, I think he recognizes this is a good game. Let's be solid. Let's let Jan try to overpress and take his chances. So not surprised to see this type of pace now that, the players, it's thinned out a little bit. And we see some matchups that are more reflective of maybe even some top level events. These guys play each other all the time. They're familiar with it. They don't have to take as much risk with their openings and decisions as in the earlier rounds. Another pairing, Parham is playing Wesley So. See that. There's a couple names that are doing quite well that are a bit less familiar. One of them, Andrei Gorovets, is playing Bortnik. This one, it's opening up a little bit with d5, although that's usually a move played to equalize the position.
Right.
Introduce some tension in the middle. Maybe not too exciting so far. So if you're like, hey, let's look for something else, We can always
Oh
loop back
well,
in this
yeah.
move.
If you're gonna give me the option, Eric, had one game I was looking at on the bird's eye view. I mean, there are a lot of really tempting options, but on Draken against Cena move ahead looks like a position that is double edged, action on both sides of the board, and with the last move, Queen B4 by Black. Clear intentions, I think, to keep the queen on the board. And as we join Eric, the king jumps into the center of the board with King D2, feeling the pressure on the queen side.
This is really bad. Cena is so dangerous tactically, and this is a position where Black's attack is justified. King D2 is certainly not a standard move. It's out of desperation. And the move being suggested, Rook B4, that's an easy move to spot. You might be looking for something else, but this attack flows very naturally. Wow, well, that move I wouldn't say necessarily flows naturally.
Nope.
Bishop D3, there's someone to find. It might be Cena, but the idea is what, Queen B2 check afterwards, and then you take on E4. That's an advanced move. I mean, Black,
Oh, it certainly is.
holy smokes. If that's what's required, I may take back my words, but I think it's worth sticking around here to see if he finds it. Bishop D3.
That's
Crazy. And then
incredible
Queen
move.
B2 check, then you take on E4. Wow. Because E4 is defended quite a bit here, and Queen B2 right away can be kicked away with Rook B1. If we count the material, yeah, he doesn't find it. I'm not surprised by that. I think we can forgive Black for not finding it. This might give opportunity for White to find some stability.
Now,
Takes it.
I do think that after B takes A4, you have a way to, like, you can play Rook B2 and then Bishop D3, and that's a much more reasonable way to sort of spot that idea. Queen B2